I didn't have the privilege to question my identity. It was given to me. But it was given to me by man, and that's not the identity that God gave me.
Welcome to the Crucible Project Podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Crucible Project Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jess Donovan, and today I get to interview my friend Kim on her story, her experience. So let's jump in. Kim, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's so good to see you. I've missed you guys.
It's so good to see you too and hear you. And man, I'm excited to jump in with you and talk about your story, some of your experience. So, before we jump into the crucible part of your story, of your experience, the people listening don't know you. So tell them a little bit more about who you are, what you do, what does life look like for you?
Well, I am a very busy mom and an educator at a high school. And so life is a little bit crazy. There's a lot of busyness and a lot of meetings and events and things that I have to go to. But I love what I do and I love being a mom. So it's just go a lot.
I believe that. Yeah. So mom life on top of education has to be a lot. How do you find that balance works out for you?
I think I'm pretty good at being efficient with my time, and I've grown to really be present with my kids as a mom. So when I'm with my kids at home, I try to put my phone away and try to just enjoy them in the moment. And then when I'm at work, I don't really think about home often. I just focus on what I have to. So I'm fortunate and feel very grateful that I do what I love in both realms, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. And man, all the power to you. We need the educators in this world. So thank you for what you do. It's a huge blessing. Now, tell me a little bit about how you came to know Crucible. Like, how did you get introduced to it?
So a friend of mine went through the Crucible Project and he mentioned it a couple times. And when I asked what it was, he shared that it was a beautiful organization that focused on kind of just soul seeking and finding who you are and rediscovering who you are. And so there was a point in my life last year where I felt at a crossroads. And when he shared that, just in passing, I felt in my body and my soul, like, I need this. And I need answers, and I want to find God, and I want to wrestle with God and see what it is that he wants for my life, because I was desperate for answers.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. And I mean, what a godsend,
yes,
right? Especially,
sure.
I love those God wink moments where, he knows exactly what we need and it shows up in this like beautiful package and you're like, oh yeah, that's for me. Okay.
I love that. God wink.
Now,
I'm going to steal that.
We love that. We love a little God wink. I got that from a Crucible friend, actually, and have been using that, so I'll just pass it along. Now, would you be willing to share like a little bit more of what was that crossroads for you? So as you were looking, as you're, kind of stuck in that place, what did that look like for you?
Well, a lot of feeling stuck. It deals with my cultural background. I'm Asian American. And being a first-generation Asian American with immigrant parents, the expectation to be the perfect wife and perfect daughter and perfect mother was suffocating. And what it looks like after a lifetime of conditioning is that you lose yourself. And I've worked with I've done a lot of personal work throughout the past few years, and I kind of liken it to if I had an inner child, like an inner young girl, I was basically drowning her, however she was made and however she was created and whatever passions she had. I kept her down because everyone else around me wanted it to die and drown. And so I kept it like that. And feeling stuck looked like me feeling so stifled, miserable, and feeling caged. And I had to do a lot of, for the first time in my life, listening to the tiny voice that said, this is not meant for you. You are not meant to live this way. And all of the fibers of my being, they were so conditioned, militant style, that I just thought, this is not from God. This is crazy. I just need to continue to repress this and serve. In our culture, it's the men in your life. And so I don't know. I'm just so amazed now, having gone through my journey, just kind of in awe that that little girl that I drowned was so resilient to speak.
Wow.
And so much so that I couldn't ignore it. And so feeling stuck looked like being miserable for my whole life, feeling like this is not who I am and I don't want to live like this. And having the courage to fight for myself for the first time and to know that I must be worth more than this.
It is powerful what those messages put on us from others can hold us captive.
Yeah, especially
really.
if that's the only thing you've known. Like you were.
Yeah.
People have a really hard time understanding, wrapping their heads around this cultural piece, but I didn't have the privilege to question my identity. It was given to me, but it was given to me by man, and that's not the identity that God gave me. And so,
come on,
yes,
that'll preach.
Right.
That'll preach. Yeah, no, you're so right though. But when it's what you've grown up with, it's what's normal for you. And so to unlearn those pieces is hard, So I just came from a counseling session where I was talking about an experience I had that seemed normal for me. And the counselor simply said, it seemed normal because that's what they wanted to train you into. And I'm like, oh, and sometimes it takes that voice to go, hold on, no, that like your normal is not normal. But I am tender for you and thankful for you sharing, because I don't think a lot of people realize how much different cultures can impact some of these pieces. And I know that you said in your culture that you felt that much more of a weight and expectation of perfectionism. So where in your life would you say that you started seeing that message that you had to be perfect or you weren't enough?
Well, more than perfectionism, there was a pressure to serve other people. It's not, and this is very hard for me to kind of describe. I've tried to describe this to a friend, that it's not that I was taught to have low self-esteem. It's like you are taught your sole purpose in life is to serve other people. And so ever since I was a girl, I have to serve my brother. I have to cut fruit perfectly to be a perfect wife. Like I have to, give my father, I have to serve him first when it comes to meals. I have to give my brother the better slice of meat or whatever, and I will have the leftovers. And being told again and again from a young age by every person in my family that, you have to serve them. I can't even translate it. There's no transliteration that's accurate, I feel, in English. But like just chama means tolerate, just hold it down. It's like when you stub your toe and you're in pain, people will say chama. That means hold your pain and stuff it, kind of like that. So anytime there was personal like turmoil or dissatisfaction or unhappiness, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. And so to grow up like that, and being somebody who was a very obedient daughter and granddaughter, I don't know. I feel like I was talking to a Crucible sister yesterday because we had virtual dinner. It was great. But I was telling her, I feel like Pinocchio, and maybe this is the wrong illustration, but like Pinocchio, like a puppet who has strings. And I told her what the Crucible has done for me is to cut my strings, and I realized, oh my gosh, I am a person. I am a soul.
Wow.
I know. And so at night.
Okay.
Is that right?
I have to tell you, I am literally only laughing because you and I were both thinking of Disney
Really?
illustrations. So you're over there thinking of Pinocchio. I'm thinking of the sister from Encanto,
Oh,
who has that
yeah. That
song
beautiful.
Surface
Yes, I
Pressure,
love
where
that
like the weight
song.
of the world is on her
I
shoulders.
teared
And
up during that
so,
song, and I
right.
blasted
And
for my
so,
kids, and they're like, "Why do you like this?" I'm like, "Because it's me."
yes. And so it's
Yes,
powerful. Like the
yes.
weight that is on her shoulders, and that for her too, it was this expectation
Oh my
of you're going
gosh.
to be all these things and you're not going to reveal the pressure that's really there, but that pressure crumbles
Yeah,
you,
and I was
right? And it
really
weighs you
good at
down.
holding that pressure and like just
Mm,
compartmentalizing and just stuff in believing, my whole life believing that other
right.
people were more important than me and that my sole purpose in life was to serve other people. And so at night she
Wow.
texted me and she said, "Good night, Pinocchio," and she gave me like a kissy face, and I hearted it in my tap back reply.
I love
Yeah,
that. I love that so much. That's so sweet. Yeah, let those strings go and
yeah,
get those bricks off your shoulder because they were never yours to carry.
yes,
Now, I love that you were talking about both the balance between feeling like it's what you had to do because it's what you were told to do and what you were told to carry, yet you still had that little small voice saying, "This is not right.
yes. Mhm.
Like, this isn't right." And so I love that you paid attention to that voice. I think that was worth it. What did discovering that voice and standing in that voice mean for you? Like, what did that look
Oh
like
my
for
God.
you?
It was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, is to
Mhm.
stand up for myself because I've never done it before and I was taught always to not. And so
Wow.
God, that was the hardest year. I've been through some really hard things,
Mm,
really, really horrible things. But that season last year was the hardest season I've ever endured because it's
mm,
like jumping into the cliff in the darkness with no one at the bottom, no one to catch you, no one next to you. I understood that, um, you know, choosing what I wanted for myself meant perhaps even losing friends and family because culturally,
mm,
people don't divorce in my culture. Kind of even identify and validate that that was the sense I was getting from the Lord was very
mhm,
contrary to my upbringing, my training,
mhm,
even from the Bible. You could argue this and that. I mean, I think
mhm.
everything. And so I was so confused. It looked like discovering that voice was hope, but it was also despair. And just,
Yeah.
man, that's faith, right? Like believing in what is unseen,
Totally.
and just like,
Yeah.
Lord, if I have nothing, if I have nobody left at the bottom of that, jumping off the cliff in the darkness with no one next to me, you are there, and that is enough. And you know what's there? I am
Wow.
there, and I haven't even found myself yet, but I feel that I would be worth it. I just felt God's comfort and spirit and presence, so that was so hard, but I felt his presence so thick and heavy in me or
Mhm.
all around me, and so comforted. And so it looked like death and it looked like life. I don't know how else to
Oh
explain
my
it.
gosh, that gave me goosebumps. Like, I just see this double edged sword of hope and despair, and they are both present and both there. And for you to be able to go, yeah, there's hope on this sword, but there's also despair, but I'm still choosing to have faith and still choosing to take that leap is powerful. Like, what a testament to your faith in Jesus. And um, I couldn't imagine, especially, the difference in cultural values and the difference in, especially as you've explained, wanting to please your family. That would be a huge, huge, huge step. And so to get to, I think, even just be a testament to your family of, yeah, no, my ultimate choice, my ultimate decision is to say yes to following God
Yeah.
and what he has for me. And because you are made in his
Hmm.
image, first and foremost, above any cultural image that you hold the image of Christ. And for you to stand in that
Hmm.
and saying, yeah, no, I know my worth as a daughter of God is beautiful and powerful. So, what a
Yeah.
story. Like,
It
wow,
was
wow, wow, wow.
it was a journey.
It is a journey.
And
It
it
is a
still
journey
is,
and
and
something
it's like
it
every
is.
day I just have to, I have to know and claim the truth and own it. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
I matter. And God did not die for
Yeah.
me to live that life. God did not he was
Mm-mm.
not crucified on that cross so that I could live my life. And when he talks about to have life to the full, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not even halfway. This is not even a drop. Like,
No.
and so to reimagine God as father and lover
Yeah.
before master was a whole
Yeah.
different understanding of God.
Definitely. That's so good. There's this quote by Louis Giglio. I might mess it up, but it says that God is not the reflection of our earthly fathers. God is the perfection of our earthly
Ooh,
fathers.
that's so good.
Yeah. And so, especially, because for myself, I have a broken relationship with my dad. And so to then see God as this father can be like, oh, well, what if he compares to this? But he can't compare to that. He is holy, he is
Mhm.
set apart, and he loves us far better and perfect in a way that our earthly families never ever
Yeah.
could. So, what a gift that is. But also, I think I love that you described that double edged sword of hope and despair because it does. It can feel like both. And as you said, it is a journey and the journey continues. And that is
Mhm.
hard to walk in sometimes. So I would love to hear, your experience on the weekend. What stood out to you? Like, what was it that was so impactful for you?
Oh my gosh. It was life changing.
Yeah.
There are a couple things in my life that were life changing, and that was one of them for sure. What was it like?
Yeah. Like
Um,
what stood out to you? What was significant in your experience on the
mm,
weekend?
I saw for the first time, kind of from an outsider's perspective, of how God sees me,
Mm,
and that I am worth saving and rescuing and protecting.
mhm.
And my heart broke for myself for the
Wow.
first time. And I'm an empathetic person, and I step into like warrior mode, when it comes to defending and protecting other people.
Mhm.
And I think it's because I've never been defended and protected.
Yeah.
And so when I see injustice or abuse, I get very, like, I feel righteous
Mhm.
anger. And for the first time, I saw myself as, man, like a true victim
Mm.
of horrible things. And so I felt righteous anger for myself for the first time. And then I came to the conclusion that if I don't, that I will fight for myself.
Mhm.
That yes, obviously God is my protector, but I will no longer tolerate injustice and disrespect and abuse.
Yeah.
That I will protect myself. And so I came out of it just, oh, um warrior for myself,
Wow.
and just to love and cherish myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there was a newfound, like, it's not like, and I think the message I grew up hearing all the time was this in the Korean American culture. It's like, they say you're not that special, like, but they say it so because they don't want pride. Pride is like, they
Okay.
think is the worst thing.
Mm.
So in American culture, what is seen as confidence and self-esteem is seen as pride oftentimes, and it's like that's very anti-East Asian culture, like, values.
Mm.
Because in my parents' generation, they value like humility, 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 especially for a woman, right?
Mm. Mhm.
It was very anti what I was taught.
Wow. That's huge. And especially for you to want to protect yourself in the way that you protect others. I can relate to that. I am a person who will see anyone who is being treated unrighteously and
Mhm.
hop on it and be like, okay, gotta go rescue that person, gotta go help them, gotta go save them. But I realized that came from my own inner wounding of not having
Mhm.
that met. And so, because of that, then that warrior comes on stronger for others. But really, we were the ones who needed it all
Yeah.
along. And so, I love that you were able to see that you were worth that you were worth fighting for, that you
Mhm.
were worth being seen and are worth fighting for and are worth
Yeah.
being seen. And I got to see your ambience change. Like, when you came into, as you came out, like there was just this joy on your face that I loved and love
Yeah.
currently. But I love that that was because you got to be sorry for yourself. Like you got to be sad for yourself, if that makes sense. And so
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there is freedom in allowing ourselves to see what we didn't deserve. Like getting
Mm-hmm.
to, for the first time, like you said, look and
Yeah.
go, whoa. Because
Yeah.
I think that a lot of why people steer clear of soul work is because they don't want to go to those places, right? Like they're hurtful places, they're hard,
Right.
they feel
Yeah.
dark. But as you had shared, like you finally got to see what was happening and go, oh, wow. But it opened up
Mm-hmm.
that much more of, wow, God didn't make me to live, like you said, not experiencing fullness of life. Like what I see in
Mm-hmm.
front of me is not fullness of life. And I don't like it. And God doesn't like it either. And so, because you allowed yourself to go to that dark place, it then brought you to that place of light. So,
Yes.
wow,
All of those things.
that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Now, as you were looking at yourself on the weekend, getting to finally take that mirror, look at who is in that mirror, were there some shadow pieces that you saw about yourself?
So I had a really hard time understanding this
Mm,
because, when my other sisters were to share, it was kind of like it kind of was associated with like sin and like darkness, or, because shadow is dark, right? And so I think in my head, I had a really hard time understanding this, but what I've come to realize is that the shadow pieces was what everything I was told my gold was growing up. So
hmm.
it was the flip side. What
Gotcha.
seemed like, humility and taking care of other people really was my shadow, because it was neglect, self-neglect,
Yes, that's
and
right.
so
That's right.
it's different than I feel a lot of people's experience, or what a lot of people other people would say.
Mhm. No, and I think how you ended up coming to find it is
Hmm.
exactly right and is the exact experience. For a long time, like for myself especially, joy is part of my gold, but because I
Hmm.
used it as that mask, as that facade for so
Right.
long, joy was actually part of my shadow. Like that,
Uh-huh.
like super happy,
Interesting.
super bubbly, like
Right.
yada yada. Like, yes, that's all part of me, but it was also covering up some of the pain that was actually
Hmm.
present. And so I was using that to not show what was really happening.
And I feel like that's hard too, because it's so masked as something positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when I serve, and I'm a server, I'm a doer, I
Yeah.
want to bless other people, and I'm really good at it because this is how I was trained. And so when I am serving other people, I have to ask myself, now, am I serving, am I it's not don't serve them, it's,
Mm-hmm.
am I serving and honoring myself in serving this person as well?
Yeah.
Like, I just have to remember, and man, that work is constantly unlearning and pausing and looking at patterns. It is work.
It is work. You're so right.
It is work.
Yeah, you're so
Yes,
right.
but
Because
yeah,
as you
so
said, like that's a
mhm,
good part of you, right? Like that serving
mhm,
part is not necessarily bad, but take it back to the question of why am I serving? Like what is the intention
right.
behind this? Or why for me, why am I all of a sudden super bubbly? Why am I,
Mhm,
trying to be the center of attention? Is there something there that I don't want others to see?
mhm.
Because
So what could
sometimes,
happen?
yeah, sometimes it can be
Mhm.
genuine for me, but a
Right.
lot of times it can also be masking something.
Me too. So I really have to like put a microphone in that girl's voice and say,
Mm,
is there something that you don't like here that's going to turn into resentment, right? Like that could be my shadow.
yeah.
If I silence her for too long, and then my body reacts in my silencing,
Mm,
in my mind. So that's all a part of my shadow.
wow. Yeah. Isn't
Mhm.
it so interesting? And I think that's especially part of what's so powerful about the weekends is, we say it on the website, we say it in social media posts about taking off that mask, but it is so true. We have really built this crazy, well protected, perfect outer layer that's a load of, excuse my French, but bullshit, right? Of like, but we, as you said, it's unlearning and then relearning and then unlearning and then figuring it out again, because we've built it that well that it really is taking apart piece by piece and going, what's true here? What's here as a safety mechanism?
Yes. Oh, that's the work. It's
It
harder than any other
is
work.
the work. It's so true.
But it's most worthwhile work. Yeah.
It is, definitely, because I think when you're living in authenticity, it shows the people around you, oh, that's a safe person, number one. But number two, I should be doing that too. Like, why am I operating in the way that I am? Like, there's more freedom, as you said there, right? Like, yes, it's hard. We go to hard places, but we also dig up some gold in that and find the
Oh, so
freedom.
much gold.
Yeah, find that freedom. I love that you mentioned that verse with the fullness of joy, right?
John
Like
10:10,
fullness of
I think.
life in
Yeah.
God. And so it's so beautiful. And I heard you just say so much gold. So I'm going to dig into that a little bit. So, what gold did you discover about yourself on the weekend?
Well, I discovered that I had gold.
Yeah.
And yeah, I discovered that I had gold. And, again, I keep bringing the cultural piece because this is,
Sure.
how I processed and experienced. But I was taught in my culture that you always look at your shadow. So it's always like, what can you do better? Where do you suck? Where
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
you, and if you're not excellent and perfect, you suck, right? It's like A+ or F. And so, shadow, it was easy to detect,
Yeah.
but then when I, had to dig in and process what goal do I have, that was hard.
Wow.
That was really hard, but I discovered that I am worthy, that I am worth protecting.
Yeah.
I am worth, and even if I'm the only person to rescue, that I am worth it.
Yes. Come on.
Yes, yes, and that I am beautiful. I never um, believed that I was just beautiful in God's
Yeah.
eyes, like precious and beautiful and worthy, and that I am the apple of his eye, and that I deserve more.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, so much gold there. Just gets me giddy. Like, because it's also true. And I can see it in you. Everyone else can see it in you. But for you to see it for yourself is that piece of like, just that aha moment of, wow, God, what you said about me really is true.
Yeah.
So good. Anything else
Oh, you're
from,
bringing up all the feelings.
right? All the feels.
All the feels.
We love all the feels.
Yes.
Or I will
Yeah.
say, I'm growing to love all the feels.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've really worked really hard at identifying my feelings, and oh my gosh, it's been a year's worth of therapy. But I used to just stuff it,
Yeah.
and the more I felt, I'm like, okay, I gotta clean, I gotta study, I gotta do this, where I gotta work, I gotta, but just to see it.
Yeah.
And then my therapist was like, and then I'm like, what do I do with it? And she said, you just have to hang it on the tree and just let it sit. I'm like, and then what? And she just drove me crazy. And so I literally bought a tree from Amazon or Etsy or something, and I wrote the feeling words on leaves, and
Wow.
I hung it on the tree, and I would just let it sit and stare at it. And I've learned to embrace it like a toddler and rub its back, because these are just passing visitors that visit you,
Yeah.
and in their time they will move on.
Yep.
And what a beautiful soul it is to carry so many feelings and the full range of feelings, so that these visitors will want to come and revisit. And I hope that when the visitors come and revisit, I can be a warm and hospitable hostess and give it tea and say, you can rest here, and be a safe space for these feelings, so that when they go, I will bless them when they leave. And so that has been a year's worth of work. And now the leaves on my feelings tree is not like despair and frustration. And, now it's freedom and happiness and joy.
Kim, I love that so much. I'm like wanting to write down everything you are saying because it's gold, and it's gold from you doing your work, number one, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I love that even you are shifting the piece of being a hostess to something healthy for you. Like you
Yes.
are hosting yourself. You're like, hey, come
Yes.
home. I'm
Yes.
making this internal place a safe place to live and a safe
Yes.
place to dwell. Oh my gosh, I could I could cry. That's so
Wow.
good. Wow, that's so good. Like,
Lord, it's church on a Monday evening tonight.
girl, we going to church. Y'all can't see me, but I'm dancing right now
Oh
in
my
my excitement
God.
about
And I'm
this.
not going to dance because, I don't. I should.
Oh my gosh. Wow. But I just want to stay on that because we should be focusing on the place that we are dwelling in, which is our own body. We get one body, we get one chance to live. And what are we choosing to dwell in? And
Yeah, that's like that Romans verse, right?
yeah,
It's like make your body a temple for God, but it's not just like physical. It's like your like your
yeah,
emotions,
yeah.
like your thoughts, and let it rest. Let you. I hope that I can be a sanctuary for myself
Mm-hmm.
and just no judgment, and I would just love myself in that way.
Definitely. And I
Yeah.
love that you said I let those feelings go on the tree. Like for a season it's despair that's on the tree or
Mhm.
hopelessness
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Mhm.
you didn't reject it. You didn't push it away because we all know what happens when we stop it. It comes back. And so
Mhm.
to put it out in front of you and let it be the feeling it is and give it time to be there is
Yeah.
so powerful. So good. So I love that. That's huge and important. Now, I would love to hear, tell me more about what life has been like since the retreat. How are you different? How are you standing in your power? What does that look like for you?
Oh man. I am so different. The journey, it was taking baby steps to work on my roar.
Hey, come
And
on.
to, I think we're just going with the Disney theme today. But when Simba, is practicing his roar, and at first it's like so ridiculous, and it's not even intimidating, and it's barely like a yelp, right?
Yep.
And I feel like it's been, it is walking on uncharted territory to honor myself before anyone else, to take up space, to speak up for myself. And all of these things sound good, but man, the first steps of timidly walking on terrain that has not been walked on by myself without anyone next to me has been terrifying. But the more steps you take, the stronger your legs get, and
Mm-hmm.
the more comfortable I am walking and roaring and speaking and taking up space. And it's been a lot of, there's a lot of joy, but there's also it's a lot of work, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of unlearning and processing and reflecting and trying to look at patterns and, asking myself, where am I repeating this again?
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my friends about old, Kim and new Kim, and old
Mm-hmm.
Kim would say this, but new Kim said this, and
Uh-huh.
new Kim did
Uh-huh.
it, and so they're like cheering me on. Man, I'm different because I'm so happy, and I don't know. Happy is no, it's, what is it? Underrated, overrated? It is underrated. It is underrated because people want to feel joy, and
Yeah.
like Mary Kondo, like, does it bring you joy, and like all these things about like that other Disney movie with the feelings, it's, what's
Inside
that?
Out.
What's that called?
Yeah.
Inside Out. There's joy, and she's like, but you know what? I feel like I felt joy growing up because I knew that I was the Lord and the Lord was mine,
Yeah.
and like in my soul, I knew I was joy. But like, I think happy is underrated because
Yeah.
I am happy, and like, just I am embracing the happiness and embracing my inner child uninhibited and free. My spirit is soaring,
Wow.
and I am singing in myself, and it's like a bird that has been sitting on her wings, and now I'm soaring, and just I just feel like I am traveling around the world and the universe, and
Yeah.
just my spirit is soaring. I am free. I am happy. And
That's so
so
beautiful.
I'm different. I am laughing more. I am at rest. I enjoy the present.
Wow.
Like I've never enjoyed the present time. I've enjoyed the present time and not worrying. And I am more appreciative and grateful and loving.
Wow.
And I'm a better mom. I'm a better boss. I'm a better, colleague and friend. I'm most of all, I'm a better person for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I am a better,
Mm-hmm.
you know, caretaker for myself.
Yeah, that's huge. I love all of that so much. And I love that you brought up finding your roar, like being able to find your voice. And so we're just going to stay on Disney tonight. So I was actually watching Lion King the other night. And I love the part where, because Simba is so shaken in his past. He's so shaken by what's
Mm-hmm.
happened that he doesn't believe that he can step into his purpose, into his power. But
Mm-hmm.
there's that part where Mufasa says down to Simba, remember who you are. And
Yes.
it's like, oh. And so when we can remember who
Mm-hmm.
God says we are, then that's how we find our strength, because he says that we are his. And if we are his, then we get to stand in that. So I love the part
Yes.
where it's like dry land all around them. He returns back to the rock, and the brother sees and goes, Mufasa? But really,
Mm-hmm.
it's Simba. He thought it was Mufasa, though, because
Yes.
he had his
Girl,
father's roar.
this is a sermon right here.
Come
Mm-hmm.
on, come on. But right, like he had his father's roar. He reflected his
Yes.
father's roar. And
Oh my
he
God, that's
reflected
so
that
good.
because he knew who he was. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
you coming to find who you are, coming to find your gold, made your roar
Yeah.
louder. And I love that you said
Yeah.
that roar is affecting your children. It's affecting the way you're a
Mm-hmm.
boss, but it's all coming out of the place of being grounded in who you are.
Yes.
So, what a powerful, powerful place to stand in. And I will always echo, let joy be the gift it is. I agree, happiness is
Mm-hmm.
undermined and underrated, but it all makes me think of that passage of the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Yes, Lord.
Right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you get to
Mm-hmm.
stand in his joy being your strength, and joy isn't just
Yeah.
happiness. Like, yes, that's it, it's there, but joy is grace recognized. And so when you get to recognize God's
Mm-hmm.
grace in all of those areas and go, whoa, this is all because of Jesus, and I get to stand in that, like, of
Yeah.
course you're going to be radiating. And I see you
Mm-hmm.
radiating that. Like, I see you radiating, man, it was hard and it was dry around me, but I had that voice in me. And I know that voice was the voice of Jesus going, girl,
Yeah.
life to the full. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you were made
Mm-hmm.
for life to the full. And you
Yeah.
listen to that and look where you're standing now. Wow, wow, wow.
Yes. I love that. I have so many notes I have to take after
Me
this because
too.
you gave me some good one-liners and phrases. I'm like,
Man, if
oh,
I didn't have
that is so
ADHD, I
good.
would have been like journaling it all this whole time.
This is recorded, right? So I can
It is. It
listen to it so
is.
I can
I
take
know we're going to
notes.
go sit back and listen ourselves. And oh, man, it's so good. Oh, girl, I'm
Yeah.
loving this so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I've loved hearing your experience since and how it's impacted your relationships and all those pieces. And so if you had someone who is thinking about this weekend, think about like your friend who told you about it. If you could be that friend to someone right now and tell them, hey, here's why you should go to Crucible, what would you tell them?
Here's why I would recommend the
Yeah.
weekend. Is that what you're okay? First of all, I would recommend it to everyone and their mamas and their papas because it's not just one person.
Yeah.
But I would say you need to go on this because there is nothing worth fighting for more than yourself,
Mm,
and to love yourself and to come away with it in happiness and joy and freedom
yeah.
and peace. All the things that we look for, all the things that we strive for, that we turn to so many things, but it's just us and God, man. It's just us and God. So
Yeah.
to find yourself and to find God
Definitely.
holding you. Yeah.
Yeah, you heard Kim. You are worth fighting for. You're worth going and rescuing. And God wants to help you in that rescue. And what a powerful tool we're given, right? I think oftentimes we're like, okay, I know God's there, but I don't know what tools to use. And I've found Crucible for myself to be one of those powerful tools of finding how to stand in my power and building up that muscle. I love that you said it's a journey, but as you take steps, you're building that muscle, and that's how muscles are built. Sometimes it does take tearing and the tearing of things that we've known. And like you said, you're having to tear past those things that are so normal for you, but it builds a new muscle, and it builds a new thing that's healthier and better and makes you stronger. So get after it.
I'd also actually recommend it to, especially like busy parents who feel like they don't have time. Busy parents who feel like they don't have time because of the busyness of life, of kids, just people who are lost and you don't even know that you're lost because you're so busy, and or maybe even just like in your work, or people who just who need a grounding to just take a break and ground themselves and then be able to find themselves and their purpose, and then to go back into the busyness with a newfound perspective. Wow. I am so glad that I have the tools I do now to parent my kids in the way that will also encourage freedom and strength and beauty, and for them to know their worth in God, and to know their worth in themselves. So I'm sure that a lot of people, that's what I thought too, like, oh, I don't have time for this. Like I'm so busy, but man, it is. And so many people I talk to who have been through it say, I wish, I'm jealous that you did it when you were as young as you did, when your kids were as young as they are.
Yeah, that's so good, right? And I think you are so right, because we can make every excuse to go, well, I don't have time for this. It's not going to fit into my schedule, but sit there then with the burden of knowing that you need something. So give yourself the gift of investing in you so that you can invest in others. That's so needed. Right. So man, Kim, I know that I am walking away with so many snippets from this episode that I want to sit back and listen to myself. So, girl, thank you so much for spending this time on here with me.
It is a pleasure. It's so good to see you.
So good.
And I'm going to steal your one-liners too, okay? So.
Come on. And now this is our recommendation to you people at home to go watch every Disney movie that you got. It all fits. So cool. Well, Kim, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been so fun.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you are listening, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Also, don't forget to check out myjourney2.com for your free 2-week trial. That's myjourneyto.com. Thank you for listening.